Welcome to Creepypasta. Please like, share and subscribe. This will help us make more content for you. Thank you.
My whole life is different, and no one believes me. This Wednesday, February 5th, on the way to work I went to my usual gas station. I go there every day, 5 days a week. I go in and everything is different. All new drink stations have been installed and the food area is completely redone. None of this was different Tuesday morning, and I couldn't believe that they'd redone a gas station in one night. I then go outside and see that 2 gas pumps are completely gone and there is mulch bags stacked taking up all the space. None of this was there the day before. I then leave and head to work and somehow turn on the wrong street and get lost. I've been driving these neighborhoods for months, and suddenly I'm lost trying to find my job. I get to work a few minutes later and I'm panicking. I know it's silly, but I've always feared changing timelines. My fiancé and I have a timeline safe word, so we know we are together. I call and ask him, and he has no idea what I'm talking about. We just talked about it at the end of January, and we've had it established for a while. I've even woken him up at night and asked him after having a nightmare, and he's known. But now he has no idea what I'm talking about. Then the girls start coming downstairs. I work in an addictions group home, and one girl keeps saying how confused she is and how nothing makes sense today. Later in the day another kept saying all she wanted to do was cry, and she had no idea why. Then while running errands, I go down the same street I always do, and suddenly there are 4 houses gone, and a grove of trees planted. I've never seen them before, and really started freaking. They are next to a building my family owned for the last 20 years. I know the whole neighborhood. My final straw was calling my mom today. She said my sister was going out tonight with her friend Jenna. I have known Jenna since 2003. I asked how much longer until Jenna has her baby. My mom goes silent and asks what the heck I'm talking about. She says she's never been pregnant. I look her up online, nothing. I asked my sister just a half hour ago, and she laughs in my face and says Jenna is infertile and will never have kids. I literally remember the day my sister told me she was pregnant. She told me to guess who, and Jenna was my 3rd guess. What the hell is happening to my life? Edit. I opened up to my fiancé and had him read this. He knew it had happened but didn't know how upset I was. I asked him if I had shown any signs of mental instability or Alzheimer's. I'm only 25, and he said I've never shown any signs and only some mild anxiety when things get crazy. Lastly, the safe word and things leading up to the day. We created the safe word mostly as a joke after I read the Berenstein Bears theory, and I had a really weird day at my old job. It became more used when I'd have nightmares and when I made jokes. The day before was a normal Tuesday. Wake up, work, home, eat, sleep. The only strange thing about the day was that I thought I'd heard a scream or yell as I was falling asleep. I blew it off and still kind of blow it off as some sort of sleep paralysis or dreamy moment.
An unseen force may have tried to lure me off the road to my death by altering reality. Title sounds ridiculous, but hear me out. This happened a few years ago. I was driving through East Pennsylvania, and I'm giving this girl I had just met at a friend's house that night a ride back to her place. Now, getting to her house involves going down a 1-lane road that I had driven on at least 100 times prior to this. At one section, the road meanders around a ridge by making a big right turn, then it does a sharp turn left after a couple hundred yards, and then right again where these 2 logs laying on the side of the road make a kind of X shape on the ground. Very distinctive landmark, at least for me. This is the way this road has always been. So there we are, trying to find topics to talk about to keep the car ride from becoming awkward since we hardly know each other. We take a right turn, round the bend, then a sharp left turn, and then there's a left turn up ahead. Immediately my body goes into fight or flight mode. I remember thinking, this isn't right, I know there's a right turn here. This is not what is supposed to be here. We both fell dead silent and just looked ahead in confusion. The road about 100 yards in front of me just turned left and disappeared off into the woods. To the right there was nothing, just the side of a hill and some trees. It looked completely natural, not like a mirage or anything, yet it felt so strange and almost intentionally deceptive. None of this made sense. I knew these roads. As we approached the turn, I decided that I'm not going down that road. Something bad was down that road, so I just made the irrational decision to turn right instead and hope for the best. The girl in the car put her hands on the dashboard to brace for impact. My eyes were still fixated down the left turning road as I started steering to my right, and then as my gaze shifted towards the direction I was now driving in, suddenly I could see the correct road in front of me again. Everything was back to normal. I looked in the rear view mirror and sure enough, the left turning road was non-existent. My hands felt icy cold and I was physically shaking. I pulled over to my right and just sat there in silence. We contemplated going back to investigate, but just looking at the road behind me gave me a sick feeling in my stomach. She felt it too. We decided to get the hell out of there, and that was that. I was very hesitant to go down that road again and avoided it the best I could after that, but a few weeks or months later I decided to go back in the daytime and check it out. I pulled over at the right turn spot, got out of my car and walked around the area. This is the part that really freaks me out. I quickly found out that on the left side of the road, obscured by some thick underbrush, was a very steep, rocky cliff that dropped off maybe 200 to 250 feet into a ravine. The phantom road would have taken me directly through a clearing in between two trees that lead straight over the cliff. If I had chosen not to follow my gut and drove down that road, there's a very, very good chance that we would have been seriously injured or killed. Apparently several people have crashed in that area by driving down into the ravine, might just be coincidence by who knows. I don't know what to make of this event. If I were alone I'd be more willing to write it off as a hallucination or trick of the eye, but I wasn't alone. She saw the same thing I did. I wasn't intoxicated, although my passenger was a bit buzzed if I remember correctly. I've also never experienced anything out of the ordinary in my entire life other than this. Has anyone heard of something similar before?
Comments. Hey OP, there are several stories of the things you experienced in my country, India. One of which happened to my uncle. He was traveling between towns on a bus when suddenly in the dead of night, it swerved violently and stopped. The passengers were obviously scared, and when they asked what the heck happened, the driver and the handyman, "This is normal, there will be two people in front," said that they saw the road as straightened when they knew there was a bend. The driver had continued on the new road thinking he must have remembered wrong, and he saw the actual one and so swerved to keep the bus on the road. There is another bend of road near my house, and people regularly end up in accidents because they see the road differently at night. I'm not really sure why this happens, but local people attribute it to different deaths and malevolent spirits.
Check your DNA. This happened to me back in 2013. My youngest brother had suddenly passed away, and it was pretty recent. This was on a Saturday, about a week after his passing. When he died, his cause of death was ruled a pulmonary thromboembolism. My mom had died of exactly the same cause in 2009, also unexpected death. After my brother's passing, I started to get a strong feeling that maybe these two deaths were somehow related and their cause of death were not a coincidence. I told this to one or two people, but neither paid much attention to what I said. So anyway, that Saturday I woke up quite early for me, and for a Saturday, around 7:30 a.m., I was uneasy. Back then I owned an iPhone, and as I decided I would get up and stop tossing and turning in my bed, I did what I do every day. I grabbed my phone to check the time, messages, etc. At the very top of the phone, where the battery level, internet and mobile service are indicated, and which by the way, are always still, as in those indicators do not move, I clearly saw the following message: check your DNA. I was really surprised to say the least. I touched that part of the screen, blinked, and yes, the message was gone. Oh well, I must have imagined it, I thought. But still, something seemed off. I went to the kitchen and I received a WhatsApp from a childhood friend who I hadn't had contact with for over 20 years. The message said, "Hi, I just heard about your brother and your mother's passing. I'm really sorry for your loss, but I do not think these deaths are coincidental, and I would like to run some DNA tests on you." I was floored. Could this have been a strange coincidence? A glitch in the matrix. A hallucination. I have never made this story public until now. Would greatly appreciate any feedback. Cheers. By the way, my living brother and myself were later diagnosed with congenital thrombophilia, a very rare blood mutation, in which the body tends to excessively produce clotting agents, so we develop blood clots spontaneously.
Comments. I'm not sure how your phone got involved, but I'll comment on your friend. I think sometimes we get urges to do something that should be followed to help another in distress. Your friend reached out to you, with a very direct concern. But sometimes I think it could be a fleeting feeling to talk to a long-lost friend. I think people connect to each other in a more ethereal and emotional way than is usually realized. I hope others don't ignore these urges, as it could help someone else more than one realize. Thank you for sharing.
Do you have a creepy story? Please share it with us in the comments and we will post it on the channel. Please subscribe. Thank you.